Hi guys, welcome to my winter roundup. I haven't filmed in ages, so I'm feeling really rusty at this. So I thought I'd set you up. So you've got my Christmas tree in the background. I've got some lovely incense, actually violet incense burning here. So you can focus on the backdrop and the beautiful fragrance bottles rather than listening to me ramble on pretending that I'm an expert, which of course I'm not. So I've got quite a few fragrances here that are ones that I have been enjoying and ones that I'm still looking to enjoy. So they're in no particular order. I'm just going to go through them all and hopefully you'll find one or two gems that you might find appealing for yourself. If you see the tree move, I haven't got any gremlins. My cat is on one. He just suddenly wants to play with my Christmas tree. The first fragrance I'm going to show you is my scent of the day. And today I was feeling something a little cozy. One of my favourites, all-time favourites. And it's by Armani Privé. And this is Bleu Lazuli. Beautiful presentation. This is one I save for the winter months because it's quite a cozy, powdery style of fragrance. This is actually predominantly an oriental tea fragrance. It's a spicy tea. There are, I think it's mate or is it mate tea? There's cardamom, and I've gone utterly blank on the rest of the notes. The first time I ever tried this, I was convinced there'd be violet in it because the nuance from all these notes is giving me this really strong, powdery violet. And there isn't any violet, and I think it might be the tea that's giving this kind of sort of cold, soft, powdery sensation. It's quite complex, and there's a lot of, well, it's the cardamom bringing this beautiful spice. Not warm, because like I say, it's a cold powder, like almost like a face powder, like very cold. But there is a cardamom, which usually does smell quite warm, but it's just a cozy spice. There's also a slight fizz running through it, like a slightly effervescent quality through the powder. It's incredibly beautiful. It's a slightly mature, I would say. It's a slightly mature scent, but it's stunning, and I only save it for special occasions or for when it's a lovely winter's day. So that's a very special one to me. That is Bleu Lazuli from Armani Privé. So next is another soft, cozy one, but it hasn't got that luxurious feel that Bleu Lazuli gives you. This one's far more affordable, much more simple, and actually wears very linear on the skin. This is from Elizabeth and James from their Nirvana line, and this is Amethyst, and this is predominantly a tobacco scent. The only notes listed for this one is tobacco, cedar and honeysuckle. So it's very simple, it's very straightforward, but it is a really lovely one. And for the cost, I think this was about I think it was under £25. And this is, I think this is the 30 ml, or is this the 50? This is the 30 ml. It's very soft. It's very much like pencil shavings, very warm, very gentle, soft pencil shavings, but it smells really beautiful. Again, this one's got quite a cold edge to it, which I think I quite like, this kind of cold feel to it. I suppose it's quite fitting that it's a tobacco scent, and the presentation is designed to be one of those old-fashioned, you know, cigarette cases, which is quite nice. But yeah, so that's a really beautiful one. Reach for that in the evenings because it's cozy. Elizabeth and James, Nirvana, Amethyst. So let's talk about a couple of very easy reaches I can reach for really easily without thinking about it. Both large bottles, which kind of helps a bit. So the first one is by Van Cleef & Arpels, and this is Rouge. And as you can see, I have been using it quite a bit. It's such a nice rose to reach for. So the rose, when you first spray this, it's quite a jammy rose. I've heard people say that it's more patchouli in the opening. I find it to be actually quite a jammy rose, and I love that. In fact, the opening is my favourite part, which explains why it's gone down so much, because I keep spraying it just so I keep spraying the opening. But it does dry down lovely, although it is more of a patchouli mix. It's a frituli, so you've got the raspberry rose and you've got the patchouli. This could be compared to quite a few offerings, generic offerings. I think you could probably buy like designer offerings that are a classic, you know, floral fruit patchouli. It's the amount of rose and fruit just slightly outbalancing or outweighing the patchouli in this, which is saving grace for me because I'm not a patchouli lover. I just find it so easy to reach for. So it starts out quite a jammy rose. It does end up quite velvety, so it ends up this sort of more woody patchouli rose concoction, and it's really lovely. It really is. I got this for an amazing price. I got it for, I think it was about £50 from Notino, so that was a good deal. It doesn't last forever. It's a good 4 hours of getting a good projection, I would say, and it starts to disappear back onto the skin a little bit, but that's just a good excuse to spray it all over again and get that lovely hit of jammy rose. So a lovely easy reach for me for both the autumn and the winter. Not sure about spring summer because of the patchouli element. For me might be too overpowering, but certainly for now I'm really enjoying it. So my second easy reach here, in fact it's more than an easy reach, this is my new obsession. Okay, it's from Parfums de Marly and it is Oud. I have to stop myself reaching for this every day just because of the fact that I need to use all my fragrances. They all need some love. It's not a photorealistic food scent, but it gives you an idea of food in a way. I once called this an apple pie, but I'm going to retract that. It's more of an apple strudel because you don't have that rich dry pie pastry element. It's more of a warm apple, stewed soft apples with cinnamon. Obviously there has to be cinnamon because that is the note that is making us think of apples here. There's actually no apple listed. The strudel part gives the warmth, it gives that extra element, but it's not, like I say, photorealistic. It's as though you're smelling it in the air and it's a clean air and it's an uplifting and kind of juicy. It's kind of juicy as well. Yeah, it smells clean. It's a clean apple strudel with cinnamon. So perfect for now. Oud is one that angels share, but the new one by Kilian gets compared to. And there is definitely a lot of similarities. They both have the, you know, this appley, boozy quality, although angels share is more about boozy brandy, although there is apple, I think, as well. This one isn't really a boozy scent. It's more of a sparkling, clean scent. And there's something so smooth and sweet running through it. It gives me marzipan nuances. It's just such an easy one to wear. It's so perfect for these miserable winter days. So that is the very delicious Oud by Parfums de Marly. Next up, another delicious, addictive scent, and this time from the house of Lancôme. This is Maison Lancôme Roses Berberanza. And this is one of my favourite rose fragrances. So this is a boozy, gourmand rose, my favourite kind of rose, a lovely boozy one. And you've got a lot of rich, syrupy fruits in here, sticky, really again, sweet fruits. It's so sweet and syrupy. Look at the colour of that. You can imagine the colour reflects the scent in this. You've got this sweet, dark, pinky red kind of, it looks orange on here, but it's got pinky red. It's like that, it's rich and syrupy. And the rose in here is absolutely stunning. There's also honey giving it sweetness. I think there's rum giving it the booziness. You've got that very strong note of pistachio. Gives it a slightly sour quality. It gives it, despite the sweetness, and we're talking full-on sweetness here, toothacheing almost. You've got a sourness running through it, so it just breaks it up a bit and makes it a bit more complex and a bit more rich. I've never worn this and not got a compliment. Guaranteed great performance on this one. It really does project. It leaves the most beautiful sillage. And like I say, just a rich, syrupy, luxurious rose fragrance with an unusual extra from that note of pistachio. So that is Roses Berberanza from the house of Maison Lancôme. So on the 1st of December, which I kind of think of as being the first day of winter, I guess, I pulled for a fragrance that I do reserve just for winter. And that is by Mugler, and that is the Angel Eau de Toilette. And I kind of think of this as like the winter star. It does have such a beautiful wintry look about it. It's a sweet, cozy fragrance that I do associate as a winter fragrance. So the original Angel is a patchouli and praline scent, which is a little bit obnoxious for me. I don't like the original. I think it's just far too much patchouli. It's headache inducing for me. The EDT is such a softer, more agreeable version. You've got apple in here and you've got way less patchouli. Hang on, I'm gonna have to spray this. The opening is quite a lovely crisp green apple, but it's not too sharp. It's softened out with the praline and you've still got the patchouli, but it's so much more toned down. It's quite sweet with a slight muskiness. It reminds me of a toffee apple. Like, you know, you bite into a toffee apple and you've got all that sugary toffee outside and you've got a crisp apple inside. It's like that, only obviously it's a perfume, so it's not a gourmand in that sense, but there's a soft muskiness to it. It's a very, very pleasing, sweet, warming fragrance for any day, for the winter. That's Angel to EDT by Mugler. So another designer fragrance that I've just started wearing again, and actually I rescued it from my little pile of possible selling fragrances, but I've started craving it, so it's been rescued. So it is by Hugo Boss and it is the scent Private Accord. And this is a very synthetic smelling chocolate and orange or mandarin fragrance. So the mandarin is actually much brighter in the opening of this. And it is a very synthetic mandarin, but it's quite a nice opening. And then as it dries down, you get a much more powdery milk chocolate that's mingling with that mandarin and obviously with all the other notes, making it's quite creamy and powdery. I said it's powdery, but it's creamy as well. Damn it, hang on. Chocolate elements to this is like a very powdery, almost crumbly milk chocolate. But there's also a creamy element coming from somewhere. So it's quite bright and kind of cozy at the same time. And I get that generic synthetic designer style, but I do enjoy it, or at least I have started to enjoy it again. So that is Hugo Boss, the scent Private Accord. So the next fragrance could be considered more of a spring summer fragrance, to be honest, but I'm wearing it now and I'm wearing it on days that are very crisp, very cold. And I think on those sort of days, I don't reach for things that are warming and comforting. I like to embrace the coldness. But anyway, getting onto it, it is Tioni Rainfield Natural Perfumes and it is Bleu Lotus. Now, I heard about this firstly from Lola's Scents and then from Claire, Smurfy Girly. I was very lucky to get a little sample from Claire. She sent me a sample of Bleu Lotus and that was very generous. This fragrance is my introduction to smelling Lotus. Now Lotus smells to me quite watery. It's a soft white floral that's kind of watery. A tad soapy, but very clean. There's also some exotic ylang ylang in here and a beautiful rich of Mysore sandalwood. Is a really beautiful sandalwood, which brings quite a smooth, luxurious feel. Every time I smell Bleu Lotus, I always get the same image. It's this like an ornate waterfall bubbling down into a really beautiful pool where Lotus is floating around. And as that delicate little waterfall merges into the pool of water, creating bubbles that burst, you get this effervescent fizz. And in that fizz is where I'm getting this slightly sharp, very green, bright, fresh quality. I'd almost colour it lime green. It's kind of what's elevating the white florals in here. And there is it's sort of cold and warm at the same time. The water in that waterfall is quite cold, but the little bubbles that are bursting are warm somehow, I don't know. But on very cold days, this smells fresh and crisp. So that is Bleu Lotus by the very beautiful house of Tioni Rainfield Natural Perfumes. So next is another special little scent, and it also features quite a dominant note of lotus. And the reason it's actually special is because it was created by one of our fab fragrance reviewers here on YouTube. And that is Tom O'Brien, and he is of course from the channel Ouch 110. Now if you don't know Tom's channel, then you are seriously missing out, because he does the most fantastic reviews and he really can describe a fragrance to absolute perfection. Please do check him out. This is his creation, this is his first creation, and I absolutely love it. So of course it is called Faun, and it is inspired by the mythical creature of the faun. Faun has more of an autumnal feel to it. I'm still reaching for it and I'm still enjoying it on more dry days, I would say. It smells like a lovely, dry, crisp autumn day. But we can still wear it in the winter, there's no rules here. This is actually quite a dry, aromatic, kind of outdoorsy scent with some really lovely, clean, white florals in it. It always makes me think of I'm running through a meadow at the end of summer, the beginning of autumn, when things are just starting to dry out, things are starting to become like hay, and you've got dried leaves, and you've got flower heads that have just starting to dry out. And as you run through a meadow, all those things are kind of disturbed and whipped up in the air in a flurry, and you get all that lovely, spicy, warm, but kind of dry, like grassy qualities. So it's kind of breezy, outdoorsy, but there is this lovely clean white floral running through it, and there are aldehydes in here, and so you've got a lovely clean element. I think there's also musks in here as well. You've got English herbs, tobacco, there's some tonka bean in here. It's just such a, I don't know, it makes me feel very happy, this one. It's joyful in the most simple, outdoorsy way. And what an impressive first fragrance from Thomas O'Brien. What a debut. Really hope this is the first of many more creations. So that is Faun by Thomas O'Brien. Two more fragrances here that are actually ones that suit the more miserable, wet, soggy, murky winter weather. So one of my favourite fragrances of all time is Black Rain by the House of Rainier. And I consider this one to be a dark violet. That's how I would summarise it. It's the violet in the mid which wins me over every time. Predominantly leather and violet and chamomile. And the opening is where you get such an invigorating, piercingly strong, abrasive leather and violet leaf. and it is incredibly sharp. It's almost astringent sharp, so it really is a slap in the face, wakes you up. It's like an opening act that grabs your attention, and as it develops you get this beautiful rose and violet coming through, and it's more of the violet that comes out on my skin. It comes through so soft and beautiful, and it carries a bit of the sharpness with it, and after a while in comes that beautiful relaxing chamomile. It's such an unusual fragrance. I find it completely captivating, abrasive, sharp, invigorating, and just a beautiful fragrance for a cold winter's day. So another one for a murky winter's day, although this one's a little bit too opulent to be called murky and miserable. It is Fragrance du Bois and is Oud Violet Intense. So another violet fragrance, although this one doesn't actually contain any violet. I sometimes get a bit of a violet nuance, I guess, but it's a little bit of a loose title on this one. It's an animalic woody fragrance with quite a beautiful bright resinous feel from LMI. In the opening I always get this dirty sort of old tree stump sort of smell, you know, like an old damp tree stump. It's okay, it's like a mysterious feel, a bit of a whimsical feel. And as that sort of dirtiness subsides from the opening, which I guess is the oud, it's quite a dirty oud in the opening, it starts to clean up and you get this very luxurious resin, which is the LMI, that lemony LMI. I find it quite a haunting fragrance, you know, it's quite ghostly. It's certainly not a happy fragrance, it's not bright and cheerful, but it is very rich in its resins. It's very luxurious feeling. It has loose, I suppose, violet nuances which give it a slight whimsical feel, but it is incredibly beautiful. It's very addictive somehow. It's a very complex, beautifully blended fragrance from the House of Dubois. I'm noticing that my winter lineup doesn't really have that many gourmands. I think I just prefer more crisp, cold fragrances that are a bit more unusual. But the next one is a vanilla-based fragrance, so it's kind of edging on being a gourmand, although it isn't really gourmand, but it is a vanilla fragrance. But this is by the House of Maison Francis Kurkdjian, and this is Gentle Fluidity Gold. It's a sparkling juniper and woody fragrance. So that juniper gives you quite a sort of dark winterberry scent, a bit like a blackberry, or no, more like a black currant. It's got more of a sharp tartness, like a black currant, but it's warming at the same time. It's so juicy and beautiful, but it has a slightly boozy quality. And obviously juniper also is made to make gin, so whether that's given me this sort of gin nuance as well, I'm not sure, but it is sparkling and boozy, so you could almost say it's like Prosecco, it's sparkling. So it's a really beautiful sparkling vanilla. And it's got a very soft woody undertone to give it a little bit of depth. It's gentle, as the name would suggest. It is gentle and fluidy, but it has a beautiful, rich, expensive quality to it. I do love that juniper berry scent. It is very pretty. So that's one I've been enjoying. I'm actually been quite bougie this season, and I'm actually pulling for quite a few of my Maison Francis Kurkdjians. So the next one I've actually been wearing, or not been wearing, I've worn it a couple of times, is Oud Satin Mood. I would have reserved this for any kind of a Christmas function I might have had for this year, which never happened. So I made sure that I would try and wear this where possible, because it's incredibly beautiful, and I'd only really wear this in the winter. This is a very gothic, very rich, deep, dark oud, rose and violet. So the oud and rose, it's a lovely combination. So it opens up quite a medicinal, quite sharp, almost like petrol fumes, you know. And I find that's sharper on my skin. I think it wears better on clothes, on material. Personally, I think it's softer, and the rose is more dominant on the clothes, so that's how I prefer to wear it. But it's the violet which makes it powdery, I think, gives it an unusual whimsical feel. It's incredibly strong. It's very much a beast mode, as they say. Rich, thick, luscious content of the rose and the oud and the violet is so beautiful that it gives you this feeling of velvet, this rich, deep velvet. There's a note of bergamot to give it a tiny bit of brightness, which you really do need, otherwise it'd just be too heavy. And there's also vanilla in here, but it's just stunning. This is definitely my number one choice for an evening out during the winter months. So that is Oud Satin Mood by Maison Francis Kurkdjian. So another one I've been enjoying from Maison Francis Kurkdjian is Baccarat Rouge 540 Extra 8. And when I bought this back in the beginning of summer, I didn't reach for it, I didn't touch it. I've been reserving it for this season, for the festive season, because to me it just smells like Christmas. It's amazing scent. It smells like burnt sugar, candy floss and loads of other things mingling with it to make it beautifully and complex. But I like that it's as salty and spicy as it is sweet. This makes me think of a Christmas market where you've got candy canes and festive spices for Christmas. Maybe even a hint of those beautiful hot caramelized nuts you smell from the street sellers. There's the almonds giving you that slightly nutty feel with the sugars and everything. It all just reminds me of Christmas. So with all that being said, it's fair to say this will be my Christmas Day fragrance. But I have sneaked a few wears here and there since it's turned winter, but I just thought, well, why not, eh? Maison Francisco John Baccarat Rouge 540 Extrait de Parfum. So I'm going to end the video with 2 more fragrances, and they're ones that I haven't yet worn, and they're 2 that I'm looking forward to wearing on the coldest nights of winter, especially if it snows, those kinds of nights. So the first one is by the House of Kilian, and it is Black Phantom. So this is a beautiful resinous gourmand fragrance. It's very rich, it's very deep, it's very thick with sugar, and it's our focus. It's a rich caramel, coffee, rum gourmand, very rich. There is very little brightness, very little elevation, I would say. It's just sort of flowing like a river of sugar, very thick, very sticky, very syrupy, and very warming. Very slight lactonic feel to it, a bit like condensed milk, you know, really thick condensed milk. In fact, it could definitely get cloying because, like I say, it's such a heavy scent. This is why it needs to be a very cold night with a chance of snow, because this is where this will really shine. Like drinking hot rum, it will really, you know, warm your heart. So yeah, that is Black Phantom, also known as Memento Mori by Kilian. So my final fragrance is the one I'm super excited to be wearing as it gets really cold. It's another by Tioni Rainfield, and it's called Taif Rose. This is Taif Rose. How am I going to wear it if it's completely empty? This sample, look, what am I going to do? I think I was a good girl this year, and Santa is bringing me a bottle. Well, at least Mr. Rosen Jones, my husband, he's got a bottle hidden away in the house somewhere. So once again, I have to thank Claire, Smurfy Girlie, for another very generous sample that she sent me. She does spoil me, I know. So thank you, Claire, for Taif Rose. So Taif Rose is such a stunning rose. It's such a deep, dark rose fragrance. And actually, it carries a beautiful note of Mysore sandalwood. And it offers such a richness. And it's a sandalwood that almost smells like a roasted marzipan. A woody roasted marzipan, very rich and very deep. It's wrapped up with this beautiful Taif Rose Absolute. It's a very dark fragrance. It doesn't appear to be any patchouli listed for Taif Rose, but for me, I get this rich, dark, almost chocolatey, like dark chocolate patchouli, along with something slightly minty. So it's almost like a deep, dark patchouli, dark chocolate coated rose. It's so rich. It's so rich with this eternal complexity and this very slight marzipan nuance from that Mysore sandalwood. It's going to be absolutely beautiful to wear as the days get colder. And actually, I enjoy burning patchouli incense on cold evenings, and this really reminds me of that as well. So that is the beautiful Taif Rose by Tioni Rainfield Natural Parfums. And that is the end of my winter fragrance wardrobe roundup. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Despite this rather grim and unfortunate COVID lockdown that we're all in, I hope you're all able to salvage a nice Christmas. So that is all from me. Take care. Happy Christmas. Over and out.